Monica Beetz knew something was wrong the second she saw it. A dead waterline running straight into untouched ground. No flow, no purpose. No reason, unless it was hiding something. Every miner had walked past it for years, but Monica stopped, trusted her gut, followed the line, and within minutes everything changed. That dead pipe didn't lead to a break, it led to a secret gold trap packed with untouched nuggets worth $75 million. No scans found it. No maps showed it, but Monica's instinct did. One forgotten pipe, one bold decision, one discovery that rewrites Alaskan mining forever.
The story starts with something Monica Beetz wasn't even supposed to notice. A quiet afternoon in the workshop, stacks of maps piled on the table, claim boundaries, water rights, old survey lines, nothing new. But one thin blue streak on a 100-year-old map stops her cold. A waterline, barely thicker than a pencil mark, running out of a canyon and straight across a ridge where no water should ever be. And then, it just ends. No reservoir. No tailings, no diversion pond, just a thin line to nowhere. She checks the map date. 1914, back when records were half guesswork and miners built anything they wanted just to chase rumors. Monica calls an old-timer she trusts, someone who grew up in this valley long before the Beetz ever rolled into the Yukon. He laughs when she mentions it. Oh, that thing? Folks call it the deadline. Built once, ran water once, then never again. No one could ever explain it. She asks who built it. Silence. The man lowers his voice as if someone might overhear through the phone. We don't know. They didn't stay long. Monica has looked at thousands of maps, thousands of cuts, old diggings, failed pits, abandoned dreams, but only one line like this. Purposeful enough to carve, baffling enough to abandon. And there's something about how it ends abruptly on the ridge that bothers her. A waterline is supposed to go somewhere. Water lines are built for a reason. For sluicing, for powering old monitors, for feeding wooden flumes. But a water line that stops in the middle of a hillside? That's not a mistake. That's a message. She shuts off the shop lights, grabs her pack, and decides right there. She's following it. Every inch. By morning she's on foot, starting at the very beginning, where the deadline first enters the valley. And immediately something feels off. The cut is too straight for hand tools and too odd for machinery. The trench curves in ways water doesn't naturally want to move, almost like someone forced it. The ground here is soft, but the carved walls are smooth with an intention that doesn't match the rough mining work of that era. A little too perfect, a little too deliberate. The kind of work you do when you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish, even if it makes no sense to anyone else. She kneels, digs her fingers into the old channel. The silt is packed, compressed like it once held a serious amount of water under pressure. But the strange thing? There's no source, no upstream reservoir, no sign of runoff. The channel isn't bringing water downhill. It's angled the wrong way. Whoever dug this tried to force water uphill, fighting gravity like they were building a hydraulic system that shouldn't physically work. Monica follows it deeper into the trees. Some sections are wide, like someone shoveled quickly without thinking. Others are narrow, sharp-edged, cut with precision. Every few hundred feet, there are rusted pipe ends poking from the ground. 2-inch steel, almost fused into the soil. She pulls one free and wipes it, confused. The opening faces the wrong direction. Instead of catching water, they look like they were meant to push it somewhere. Like no water ever flowed through them naturally. She walks another mile before stopping to take in the bizarre path laid out before her. The deadline doesn't follow the terrain. It ignores it. It passes through spots where water would stall out, where gravity would kill the flow instantly. This wasn't a water delivery system. This wasn't irrigation. It wasn't for mining the obvious spots. It was built to send water along a very specific route that didn't match logic. And that's when the feeling starts. Like someone tried to hide something by doing something incredibly stupid on purpose. A misdirection so obvious, it becomes invisible. By midday, she reaches the point on the map where the deadline bends sharply around a ridge. The forest thickens here. Darker, quieter. She notices something in the dirt. Indentations. Subtle but unmistakable. Boot prints. Buried for decades, hardened into clay, but still shaped like someone's walked the trench right before everything stopped. She crouches and brushes away a thin layer of moss. The heel mark is deep, the toe angled. Whoever this was, they were carrying weight. They weren't strolling. They were moving with purpose. A few feet away, half hidden in roots, she spots a wooden handle. She tugs it loose, a shovel split down the grain. One side is chipped and cracked. The letters JB are scratched into the grip with a knife. Not carved pretty, scratched in fast like someone wanted to mark their tool quickly, Make sure no one took it. Monica runs her thumb across the initials. Old, splintered, and strangely personal, like she's holding a little piece of someone who was right here when things suddenly stopped. The forest around her shifts. A breeze pushes through the trees, sending a shiver up her back. She's alone, but it doesn't feel like it. The deeper she follows this strange trench, the more she feels like she's walking in the footsteps of another miner who never finished whatever they started. The silence is heavy, expectant. Like the ridge knows she's getting close to something it's kept hidden a long time. The deadline keeps going, straight into a hillside that looks like it caved in decades ago. A slanted wall of dirt and broken stones blocks the channel completely, as if the mountain itself swallowed the last of the trail. Monica steps closer, brushing aside debris, and her fingers strike something hard underneath. Smooth, not natural. She digs faster, scraping away loosened soil until a perfectly flat surface appears. Too precise, too intentional to be part of any random collapse. The trench didn't end here. It was sealed. Someone shut this place down on purpose. She exhales once, steadying herself, then shifts from curiosity to full investigation mode. Monica clears a wider patch, palms tracing the cool polished stone, confirming what her gut already knows. This isn't a landslide, it's a barrier, a door. She calls for her handheld scanner, runs it slowly across the slab, and the device blinks to life. Instantly, the screen shows empty space behind the stone. Wide, hollow, geometric. Not a cave shaped by nature, a constructed chamber hidden behind a deliberate wall, exactly where the impossible waterline had been trying to lead her. Her mind races. A fake waterline, an uphill flow path. Boot prints ending right at a sudden collapse. And now a wall, smooth as concrete, hiding something large enough for the scanner to hit open air. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't erosion or time or weather, bearing some old miner's experiment. This was a burial, a deliberate one. And whatever's behind this slab has been waiting for a long, long time. She steps back, breath steady, calling in her small field crew. They gather around the blocked entrance, flashlights sweeping the surface. It's not poured concrete, it's rock shaped into a plane. Old miners didn't have the equipment to do this. Not precisely, not with this level of symmetry. They discuss options quickly. No heavy charges, not here. Monica wants a break, not a collapse. They place small wedges, slow cracks spreading like veins through the stone. Inch by inch, the slab weakens. The forest around them stays unnaturally quiet as the crew works, as if even the trees are holding still for this moment. Finally, with one last strike of the mallet, the slab trembles. It leans, shifts, and falls inward with a deep, hollow boom that sounds like the mountain just exhaled for the first time in a century. A rush of icy air blasts out into the clearing, so cold Monica's skin prickles instantly. She pulls her jacket tighter and steps forward. Inside, her flashlight beam cuts through the darkness, revealing not a cramped little hiding place, but a chamber far larger than anything she imagined. The ceiling arches, the walls show tool marks, and the floor slopes gently toward the center where something sits half submerged in shadow. Monica moves closer, her boots echoing on stone, until the object comes into full view. A wide, shallow bowl carved directly into the floor, filled with thick, dark mud. At first it looks like ordinary muck, but then her light catches it. The surface sparkles, just faintly, like stars hiding beneath the sludge. She kneels, dips 2 fingers in, and rubs the mud between them. It's heavy, dense, and the glitter isn't mica or sand or trick reflections. It's gold, fine gold. Flakes, specks, particles. Enough to coat her gloves, enough to make her breath stop for a second. She whispers without thinking. This was catching gold. The chamber feels suddenly smaller, more intimate, like the old miners who built this place are still standing in the shadows, watching her put the pieces together. The bowl is positioned perfectly under where the waterline would have fed through. This was the end point. But why feed water into a sealed room? Why hide a working trap? What miner hides gold they worked so hard to gather? She stands, wiping her hand on her pants. Thoughts sharpen. The answer wasn't about secrecy, it was about design. Everything about this setup follows the logic of a natural eddy, the kind that forms at the bend of a river where heavy gold settles after storms. Someone understood hydraulics, not the simple kind you use in a sluice box, but deep, natural river behavior. They hollowed this chamber to mimic a swirling pool, built a bowl to catch the heaviest material, and forced water through a route where nobody would ever think to follow it. The deadline wasn't a mistake or a failure or a forgotten dream. It was a delivery system straight into this room, built by someone with knowledge far ahead of their time. But something's off. Monica keeps sweeping her light across the bowl, expecting to see chunks of gold or signs of heavy deposits. There's gold, yes, but not the amount a system like this should have collected. Not decades worth, not even close. It's the residue, the leftovers of something much bigger. Whoever engineered this trap didn't just harvest fine gold from a stream. They used this bowl as a first stage, a filter. The main weight, the coarse nuggets, the real treasure, none of it is here. She pivots slowly, studying every inch of the chamber. The bowl sits slightly higher than the room's lowest point, which is odd. Gold should settle at the absolute bottom. But the very bottom isn't the bowl. It's a patch of stone behind it, darker and smoother, as if water used to flow there before draining elsewhere. Water always leaves signs, stains, mineral streaks, erosion, and the marks on this chamber show a path that doesn't end at the bowl. They continue downward, under it, past it. Someone built a second stage, the real trap. The space behind the wall wasn't the treasure, it was only the beginning. Monica walks the far edge of the chamber, running her palms along the walls, listening for hollow spaces, feeling for drafts. The bowl was clever, sure, but not the masterpiece. This place is too big, too intentional, too perfectly engineered to exist for a single capture point. The flakes scattered in the mud are just scraps, the leftovers from something much heavier. A system this sophisticated always hides its true prize deeper. She returns to the bowl, kneeling beside its stone base, and sweeps her light across the mud-slick surface. That's when she sees it. A subtle shift in texture, a swirl where the water once spun tighter, faster, before slipping away. She digs her fingers into the mud, and it parts around a narrow seam. Beneath it, the space exhales warm air, rising from a depth that shouldn't exist in a sealed room. She clears more mud, exposing the shape fully, a precise circle carved into the stone, edges smoothed by decades of flowing water and weight. The polished pattern around it reads like a memory of motion. Something heavy funneled through here over and over, sinking into the darkness below. This isn't the end of the system, it's the chute, the natural drop where the true fortune fell. Whatever waits under that opening is the reason this whole chamber exists. The real stash didn't stay up here. It slipped down into the hidden depths beneath her knees, and that's exactly where she has to go next. She grabs her portable camera, ties it to a cord, and lowers it carefully into the hole. At first there's only blackness and drifting dust, then the camera steadies and the floor below comes into view. The lens catches something bright. She angles the cord a bit more. Another reflection. Then the cavern opens wider in the frame, and the entire bottom flashes gold. Not a trick of the light, not mica. Thick, dense, unmoving gold spread across the stone like someone spilled treasure and never came back to pick it up. Her breath catches. The drop isn't a drain, it's a delivery chute. The bowl above wasn't the endpoint, it was the start of something far bigger. She pulls the camera up, wiping mud off the lens as if that will calm the racing in her chest. The second chamber is real, untouched, and filled with gold in quantities she's never seen outside of stories miners tell after too many drinks. She steps back, scans the surrounding rock for anchor points. If she's going down there, she's doing it right. A few minutes later, she's clipped into a harness, rope looped through a hand-drilled bolt, checking her gear with deliberate, steady movements. Her crew offers to go first, but she shakes her head. She was the one who found this system, who followed the impossible waterline, who cracked the chamber open. She needs to be the first to see what's below. She eases herself into the opening and rappels slowly, boots brushing against cool stone. The light from above fades as she drops into the throat of the mountain. Her lamp glows against mineral cracks, ancient tool marks, patterns carved by water that once rushed through fast enough to deliver heavy nuggets, but somehow gentle enough to preserve smooth walls. The warm draft rises past her face, carrying the scent of deep earth, metallic, damp, old. A few feet lower, her boot touches the edge of the chamber floor. She releases tension on the rope and steps fully into the room. The air is still, heavy, like nothing has disturbed it in generations. Her footsteps sound too loud as she moves forward. The beam of her lamp sweeps across the floor, and she stops dead. Gold isn't scattered here, it's pooled. Nuggets of every size, some the size of teeth, some the size of fists, some nearly the size of river stones, lie in clusters like they were poured out of a bucket someone forgot to empty. The edges are rough, natural, untouched by tools. No pick marks, no scratches, no signs of anyone ever carrying them away. These are trap deposits, the kind that come from a design meant to separate the heaviest materials from everything else. Nuggets don't just happen to gather like this unless someone made them gather. She looks up at the walls. Thin veins of gold run through the stone like lightning frozen in rock. Some have been fractured by settling, leaving small pieces on the floor. Others shine in jagged lines, untouched, whispering that there's far more buried inside the chamber walls than what sits loose on the ground. Everything about this place builds a picture. The bowl above acted like a collector for fine materials, sending the real weight down through the hidden chute. This chamber wasn't an accident. It was the true heart of the system. Someone engineered a gold funnel, designed to gather everything valuable right here, in one impossible room. Monica crouches and reaches for the nearest nugget, a piece roughly the size of an apple. When she lifts it, her arm drops slightly from the weight. It's heavy in a way that makes her chest tighten with adrenaline. She turns it in her hand, shining her lamp across its surface. Jagged edges, raw, untouched purity. 90% gold if she had to guess, maybe higher. A nugget like this would make a miner's entire season. She's holding one without even trying. She laughs under her breath, not out of humor, but disbelief. Another sits a foot away, even bigger. Another glints near the wall. Every direction she turns is another impossible prize. Her crew above asks for updates, but she barely hears them. Her mind is calculating. Just this floor alone is millions. Maybe tens of millions. The veins in the walls could hold even more. This room, hidden for a century, sealed behind engineered stone, and fed by an impossible waterline, could easily be the biggest forgotten gold trap in Alaska. She pockets the first big nugget instinctively, sliding it into her vest with a soft clink. She picks up another, smaller but still worth a fortune. Her brain keeps switching between wonder and sheer disbelief. Each piece she touches feels like history, like the last miner who worked here never got the chance to return for what they built. She imagines someone sealing the wall above, knowing full well what they were bearing forever, intending to come back but never making it. She steps deeper into the chamber, her boots crunching lightly on scattered flakes. Her fingertips glide along the exposed gold veins in the wall, tracing how the mountain built itself around this hidden system. She can almost envision the flow, water racing down the chute, spinning, slowing, dropping its weight precisely where she stands. Whoever engineered this understood the mountain better than modern miners ever could. As she reaches for a nugget near the far edge, a low rumble travels through the floor. Dust drifts down in soft spirals, settling across the gold like gray snowfall. She freezes, eyes lifting toward the ceiling. Another tremor rolls through, stronger this time. Maybe the reopened waterline is shifting. Maybe the slab they knocked out changed the pressure. Maybe the entire system is waking after decades of silence. The third tremor doesn't creep in quietly. It hits with force. The timbers above her crack like bones snapping, and a long, groaning shudder ripples through the chamber. Pebbles jitter across the ground. The air goes taut, vibrating, alive. Monica doesn't need instruments to understand what's happening. The old supports, softened by age and clay, are buckling one after another. Water begins to thread through thin seams overhead. Trickles first, then steady strands. The same waterline that once fed the gold trap is breathing again, surging back to life. She tilts her light upward just in time to see the impossible. Trickles becoming rivulets, rivulets merging into thin, snaking streams. The entire system is reactivating exactly as it was designed to run. Not broken, not random, fully back online. And she's standing right in the middle of a machine that's powering up fast, with only minutes, maybe less, to get out. She shoves her hands into the scattered nuggets on the floor, her gloves scraping metal on metal as she sweeps everything she can into a canvas bag. Each nugget is heavy, warm, still coated in the dusty film of the chamber's long silence. Come on, she mutters, not in panic, but in speed. The chamber's heartbeat grows louder. Little detonations of dirt fall from the ceiling. The bowl above is flooding. She hears it, a deep swirling churn as water rushes into it, hunts the hole, and drops down into the room she's standing in. The system is doing what it was built for, flushing gold into the lower pocket. Except now she's the one being flushed with it. The first blast of water hits like a punch to the air. A violent gush, thin but fast, cuts through the chamber's corner and sprays the wall. Monica looks up and sees the real danger. The flow is strengthening, thickening, turning muddy. When the mud comes, the chamber will fill like a plugged drain. She swings the rope over her shoulder, grabs the line with both hands, and plants her boots against the wall. She climbs with a miner's precision, fast, efficient, zero wasted movement. But halfway up, the mountain shifts. A booming thud shakes the entire chamber, and the floodgate finally opens. Water explodes down the shaft. Not a trickle, not a stream. A full-force blast of mud-thick water surges downward like a collapsing river. The pressure hits her boots first, nearly ripping them off the footholds. She grips the rope with both hands, her knuckles whitening under wet gloves. The chamber below disappears in a blink, swallowed into a swirling, churning chaos of sludge and gold-rich sediment. The water is rising fast, trying to claim the rope, trying to drag her back down. Monica climbs harder, faster. The bag of nuggets slams against her hip with every upward lunge, dragging her sideways, throwing off her balance. Every muscle in her arms feels like it's turning electric, but she doesn't slow. She can't. The mud roars beneath her like something alive, reaching, chasing. At the shaft entrance, daylight beams through the cracks, thin, wobbling streaks that promise escape. But the opening is already collapsing. Dirt pours in small waterfalls, each one widening the crack, loosening the ceiling, turning the exit into a ticking trap. Monica lunges the last few feet, boots scrambling through loose soil, pushing her weight forward with everything she has left. She bursts out of the hillside just as the world behind her gives way. The entrance implodes, not in a slow slide, but a violent internal collapse that sounds like a giant exhaling after holding its breath for 100 years. The ground shakes beneath her elbows as she sprawls onto the rocks outside, coughing, covered head to toe in mud. The rope disappears into the earth. The shaft seals itself shut. Everything below, the bowl, the trap, the gold room, is consumed by the mountain again. For a long moment, she doesn't move, just breathes, slow, shaky, disbelieving. Then she feels the weight beside her, the bag, the canvas, soaked in muddy water, bulges like it's carrying a bowling ball. She drags it onto her lap, unties the knot, and stares. Nuggets, solid, dense, dozens of them. Some the size of walnuts, some the size of fists. 50 pounds, maybe more. The kind of haul most miners don't see in a lifetime. Her crew gathers around her, speechless. No one talks, no one asks. They just stare at the impossible sight. The collapsed mountain behind her and the fortune resting in her lap. Someone finally breaks the silence. Monica? Do you realize what that room was worth? She nods, still breathing hard. 75 million? Another voice answers, and they all know the truth. That's the conservative estimate. The rest, the main chamber, the untouched veins in the walls, gone. Buried beneath tons of rock and mud. Locked back inside the earth like it never existed. Monica wipes mud from her face with the back of her glove and stares at the sealed hillside. Not with regret, not with frustration, but with a strange, quiet respect. The old miners built something brilliant. A trap so efficient, so perfectly engineered, it still worked a century later. And when it was done giving, it closed itself. She stands, slings the sack over her shoulder, and gives the mountain one last look. Not a promise, not a challenge, just understanding. Some places, she says, voice low, steady, certain, aren't meant to be opened twice.